Why do we wander? Why do we find this inexorable desire to move from one place to another? Why is it that we get so obsessed with being somewhere that we're not? I don't know about you, but I know for me, I find that draw and that pull often in my life, at different phases in my life. I grew up not too far from here in a little town called Baton Rouge, and it was where I was born and raised, and I spent a lot of really good years there. And when I finished up school, I did the really smart thing and didn't apply myself. And I became a handyman, and I worked around the city, and I loved it. And I kind of stumbled into my favorite job. I ended up getting to work in radio. And I didn't think that's what I was going to be doing with my life, but I was loving it. I was in the middle of this thing that, for the first time, I was really enjoying my job. And if any of you have had bad jobs, you know what I'm talking about. You go to work and you're like, hey, I'm actually glad to be here. This is fun. Like, I'm not watching the clock to get ready to leave. And all of a sudden, out of basically nowhere, while I am doing this job that I love, I'm enjoying my life, a friend comes to me and he injects some wanderlust that I wasn't expecting. And he had been living in China for about 2 years, and he came and talked to me and he said, what would you think about moving to China? And honestly, I didn't know. I had no idea what to think, and it wasn't something I was expecting. And so it took me a while to kind of get my mind around it. But what I was feeling in that moment was this lack of connection to where I was. I was feeling further and further detached from the place that I was and feeling more and more drawn to this place where I wasn't. And the more that I heard about it, the more that I wanted to be there, because my friend would tell me things like, this is a city of 24 million people. And I can't even picture 24 million people. I don't know what that looks like in my head. But he was talking about all of these opportunities and these ways that I was going to be able to interact with people. And he was a part of a ministry, and we're going to be able to get to know people and build relationships and see change happen in this city. So after about, 3 or 4 weeks of really thinking about this and talking, all of a sudden, I'm making plans, and I'm talking to my job, and hey, I'm gonna have to work around this, and then I'm not gonna be here anymore. And then about 6 months later, I was on a plane, and I was no longer here. And in my mind, I went into this new phase in my life thinking, man, this is gonna be great. All the things, all the detachment I was feeling, I'm gonna find that sense of purpose and belonging that I didn't have. And I land, the plane lands, I get out, and all of a sudden I'm in this place that is completely unknown. I had very little bearing for where I was or what was going on, and it took me a while to kind of figure out, what in the world am I doing here? And the things that I had gone in thinking, I had all these expectations and all of these desires and all of these plans, and very quickly after stepping out of the plane, those things started to fall down like dominoes. And I began to see that this idea that we have that grass is always greener somewhere, that's kind of a cliched thing that's thrown around, and all of a sudden I'm kind of looking around, and honestly in China there's not a lot of green grass anyway, but I was seeing that maybe I had way over-romanticized being somewhere else. And all of a sudden, all these opportunities and these ways to connect with people, I had them. And I'm all of a sudden, the things that I thought I was going to be doing, it was going to be easy. I'm just going to sit down and we're going to talk to somebody. I'm going to have this friendship and it's going to be great. And all these people are like, who are you? I don't want to talk to you, and all of a sudden it's there's rejection and hardship and difficulty and all these things no one ever said hey, you need to kind of be prepared to experience these things. And I kind of came to this place where about 6 months in, I'm what am I doing here? I'm looking around going maybe I need to think about going home because I don't know if this is worth it. But I discovered something else while I was in the middle of this place where I thought this was where I was supposed to be. I thought this is really what I was supposed to be doing. And the way in which it was all taking place was not on my radar. And what I began to discover is that even though the grass wasn't green at all, God was still there. And all of a sudden, like, I'm having these very unexpected opportunities, and I'm getting to do things and interact with people I would have never gotten to otherwise. And there was beauty in the midst of confusion and discord and being let down and being disappointed. When I began to kind of let those things go and find some contentment in the situation I found myself in, all of a sudden I began to look around and see that maybe there are some things here that are really amazing. Maybe there are some things here that I can actually be a part of. Maybe there is some purpose for me here. And there were some amazing conversations I got to have with people, people that I, kind of, you get into those relationships and you're just kind of like, I don't think this is going to go. Like you're talking to somebody like, we're not clicking. We all have those kinds of relationships. But those were the people that all of a sudden, like, I was being blown away with the way that they were, like, serving other people, or the way that they were initiating conversations with their roommates. And we got to see, like, some amazing stuff take place. And so I came home, this was 2012, so I came back, and as I began to look around, and I did feel like I needed to come back. I didn't feel like this was like something that's like, oh, like I got to get out of here, kind of a thing. It was the right time, and there was the right opportunity. But when I came back and I began to reflect on this time that I had had outside of my own context and outside of what I had been expecting, I began to kind of see some things come out in me that I don't know if I would have seen otherwise. And I don't know about you. I don't know where you're at. I don't know why you're in New Orleans. I know some of y'all, like, this is your first month. I'm like, welcome to New Orleans. Like, this is like the best place in the world. And I can say that legitimately. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and maybe you need to think about that. Like, what's brought you here? I had to consider that for myself. Like, why did I leave that radio job? It's like it made so much sense at the time. Why did I leave that for this other thing? And I began to see some of the reasons, and not all of them were self-induced. Some of them were actually pretty good. I think we all have this desire to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And I began to see that in me. And as I also began to reflect and I looked around, I began to think, like, what can I be a part of while I'm here? Like, I don't know how long I'm here. I don't know how long y'all are here. You may only be in New Orleans for, like, another month, and you're on to, like, a startup in L.A., or you're going to go start a nonprofit in, Syria. But I don't know. I don't know what is on the horizon for you. I don't know, like, what you're up to. But I know that at least for the moment, you're here. And so what is it that we can do to be a part of seeing real change in the lives of people in our city here in New Orleans? And maybe for some of y'all, that's hooking up with Compassion International. I really encourage you to check that out. Maybe that's an opportunity for you, for however long you're here, to see something greater than yourself take place in the life of another person. But what if we could find our identity in something that wasn't just a place, that wasn't just a desire, that wasn't just an urge to be somewhere we're not, or maybe even to be someone we're not? What if there was something that could do that? And I don't know about y'all. I don't know if we've got, there's some questions. I don't know about y'all. I don't know where you're at. But maybe take some time to think about those things. And that's a good question for anybody. Why are you here in New Orleans? What brought you here? And however long you're going to be here, what might we do to make a genuine impact in the life of someone else in our city? So I hope that helps y'all think through some of this stuff. We're going to Continue. I hope you get a chance to put a sticker on the map. I got to hear about some really cool places that people have been, where people are from. If you don't know where New Zealand is, it's kind of hanging out at the bottom of the map. I had to look for it, so don't be confused. Like, that part of the world gets like super confusing, just in general. But so that's where New Zealand is, and that's where you should put where you want to go, because that's where I want to go. And then also, don't forget, come up and let us know, like, why do you think you should stay? Whether it's here, or maybe you're thinking about going back to the place you're from. Why should we stay? And then take some time and consider what might be some reasons to go. Maybe, I don't know. But take some time. Someone put Texas. But take some time to do this stuff. Go check out Compassion. Grab a donut and maybe talk to someone you haven't met yet tonight. Thanks, guys.